Good evening. Let's begin the meeting of the Historical Architecture Review Board for July 13th. It's 6 o'clock, well, 6:01. And we seem to have a quorum, so if we can begin the roll call, I guess, is, since we're online, everybody's already checked in because of their cameras. So that's one modern thing that we can dispense with. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting? That would be 5/11/2021.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any problems or revisions or additions, subtractions? I did notice that at one point I had said that the adjacent driveway was gravel, and I stand corrected. I checked it out. It's actually a bituminous paving that's already there. So the idea of coming in and having a shared driveway is a great idea for that, but if that can be corrected after the fact, that'd be fine. Otherwise, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I second it.
I'll make the
Okay.
motion to approve the minutes, and Luba, you can second.
All right, I second again.
Thank you, Luba. So, unless there's further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Hearing none, its motion has been approved unanimously to accept the minutes, and we can move along to the third order of business, which is 1700 Yardley Langhorne Road, tax parcel 2021-02, the Dogwood Skate Shop. If do we have the owner available?
Yep, we have Richard in our waiting room. I can bring him in now.
Please do.
Richard is in the room with us now.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Hope everyone's well.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I guess at this point, I would wonder if you have any documentation. I don't see. I don't see either Mike or Mr. Majewski here to present paperwork. Hopefully we can get away with if you just explain what you're asking approval for.
Yeah, that being said, I reached back out one last time before getting the information on this meeting, and I was wondering, did I need to take some photos, or has everyone already kind of viewed this on their own? But we're here for approval on our handicap ramp. That was the last piece that was to be approved.
Stephen, did we get drawings?
I haven't seen any formal paperwork on that.
So there's no,
Since it's installed, I think we can just go by what is there if everybody has had a chance to view it.
yes, we've also had you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We've also had your code enforcer out, and we followed all his requirements.
There is now a landing outside the other door that not the main door, that was a step up off the roof, off the porch.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have not received a drawing, or unless you made a special drawing for that.
No, we didn't make a special drawing for that. I was wondering if you guys wanted me to at least like take photos and like send in measurements of what it is, but there was no I mean, I did the work myself, you know what I mean? Other than, you know, there's a handicap piece, you know, assembled, you know, professional ADA ramp that goes to all the specs. I mean, we could get you any of that stuff with next to a photo if someone would like to see it that way.
Well, I believe the formality requires that we have some documentation in order to make the final approval and to have the vote. I certainly understand that what you've put up there is rather, utilitarian, let's call it. Has everybody else had a chance to see it?
No, I haven't.
No, Stephen, could you maybe describe? I know however many months ago we looked at some options, right?
Yes, we did.
In a few different layouts, and I wish I drove by there just the other day to get some takeout food, and I was looking the other way, so I didn't get T-boned. I was looking up there instead of there. I should have turned my head to the right instead. Could you take a minute just to describe it? And so, I know we don't have photos or drawings to look at.
Does Mike,
I think Mike is here.
Oh, Mike is here now. Okay.
joined. I'm
Good.
wondering, Mike, if you have a photograph you could share.
I'm actually looking through my stuff right now to see if I can find something for you.
Oh, that's great.
Well, let me quickly describe, and Mike's photograph then could help. I mean, one photograph mean 1,000 words and all that, but it's basically an aluminum pre-manufactured ramp that goes from the parking lot surface to a raised platform that was on an existing porch. Mike, do you have any documentation, any drawings or other presentation that was made in order to approve this permit, I guess, for construction under the historic requirements?
I don't believe so, but again, I'm going back through my emails with me and Rich to see if there was something he had sent me. I believe there is, but I'm a little slow with the computer, so let me look through some of that stuff for you guys and see if I can get what I can get for you.
Okay, the last time we looked at something that was drawn, it was a platform that was on the, I guess, the east side of the house that extended out outside the normal bound or the boundaries of the porch on a raised level. And then they would have had to have another step and a railing and all kinds of adaptation at the main door. And they came back with a plan. No, it was a drawn on photograph, I believe, that showed the ramp behind the screen that was on the other side, on the west side of the porch. And that's what they installed. It's behind that screen a little bit and extending up onto the porch. So the base is visible and the part that's the raised platform in front of the door is visible.
Okay. So it's on the other side of the porch now. Okay.
It's on the west.
On the west, I know. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Because I remember the discussion where we were talking about whether it would just come straight off the east side of the porch and in sort of a straight line versus an L shape back towards the parking lot. And now it's okay. Now it's on the other side.
Yeah. Rich, is that
correct.
a valid description?
Yes, that's very valid. Yes, that absolutely comes down to the parking lot on the east side. That is the west side, I believe. Yes.
Okay. If
Which,
everybody,
is that where you had more space, or what was that just decision? What's that based on?
It works way more efficiently in many ways. We would have to do. It would just look crazy taking out the porch railing over there on that side, and we would have to do so much more construction to make that other side work. As where this goes right to the point, to the door that is level with that base, the landing.
Thank you.
Stephen, You said it was aluminum. It was it was metal.
It's
How
aluminum
does-
pre-manufactured, yes.
Okay, so I think I have an idea as to what it might look like then. Is there an issue with that relative to HARB concerns with the visual? Is that what you're thinking, or?
Well, it's a little jarring in terms of the look of it at this point. There's two ways to go about doing historic adaptation and accommodation. One is to make it completely modern looking and have it as a separate style, let's call it, and not try and match the existing or the historic aspects, since it is a modern requirement that has some validity. It's, I would say, not the most beautiful of installations. I'm sorry to say, Rich.
Hey, I will speak for it. I am not, it makes the most sense right now. I'm not the most thrilled with taking away from the face of my property in general, but it makes the most sense and was the most feasible at the time. And it's all made by a handicapped manufacturer, and it was gone over with your code enforcer to meet the specs for approval on that end. That being said, I do plan on, in the future, a year or two down the line, no, it doesn't pertain to this meeting, but I plan on doing a backside addition to where they would just get out on the side parking lot and go right in our backside addition, which is level with our whole floor. So no one ever sees anything, you know what I mean? And that would look beautiful today.
Well, Luba, have you had a chance to see it?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I was expecting maybe we would see a photograph or a drawing, a sketch
Yeah.
today.
Well, I don't think we can have a formal approval if we don't have the paperwork and at least some documentation. So
I have found a hand-drawn document that was sent to me. Two problems. One, I have no idea how to share that. And two, it's not really going to give you the idea of what it actually looks like material-wise.
I've seen it. My question is, if the code enforcer has okayed the design, are we going to hold up this gentleman opening a business because we don't like the way it looks?
well, it's been installed. I
I
think,
know, I've seen it. I've driven past.
sure. I think that because it's a modern thing, we can talk about its looks a little bit, but in the long run, we pretty much have to go with practicality to some extent. Jennifer, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, Mike, is that hard copy that you got? You could take a picture of it with your phone and then email that to yourself and open up the document, and you could share it that way.
It's in my email. So you're saying if I open it up?
If you open the attachment and then you share your screen.
Share. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, give me a second. I'm feeling the pressure now. I've never done this before. I've never done this before. I think I might have to go get my 5-year-old son to show me how to do this.
No, Mike, I can do it if you email it to me.
Same.
You know,
Yeah.
okay. You know what? Let me find it. Open it back up. Open it back up. I'll send it straight to you.
Yep.
And then we'll go from there because I don't want everybody staring at. Well, you're not staring at me, but
Okay. I guess the other consideration is the actual documents that, since we're not there to sign them in person, which in times with face-to-face meetings is something that we always did, this record of a video meeting will have to count to some extent, but everybody should at least have a look at it before we make a determination. And if that can be accomplished right now, then we can at least do that. The other question is whether it is actually being held up by the actual occupancy permit is being held up by not having this approval.
Yeah, I would also, Steve, from a higher level, even higher level than that, I think we need to kind of step back and do a little bit of a lesson learned on this one, just to see how we can improve the process next time. So we come in, have everything ready to go, bing, bang, boom, and we can improve and be done with it.
True.
For the owner's own benefit, just to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, I'm not even quite sure how the process is the way it is right now. You're not supposed to be able to get a permit without a COA.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
But it's been installed. So
yeah,
it's work that has been done without a permit. And there are ways that the building department deals with that kind of condition. And I'm sure that there's been a number of those things that have been done over the years. So I'm not going to speak for that, but I would like to see at least a little formality maintained here.
So I did find in my email a picture from another subject that Rich had sent to me for a whole nother matter. But in the background, you can actually see the front with the ramp, so you can zoom in on it. So if I can send that to you, Kathleen,
Sure.
would you be able to, I guess, share
I
that?
can open it and share it. Yep.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll do that right now.
I also just sent you a fresh batch of photos.
He just added it to the existing porch. But it's crap.
Rich, you said you just emailed me?
Yeah, I just emailed you a fresh batch of photos.
Oh, perfect.
Everybody up there.
Oh, perfect. Yes. I'm going to send this on.
One of the other considerations is that this pre-manufactured handicap ramp and the platform that's on the roof has had no impact on the historic fabric of the porch. The existing porch is still there, and if at some point needs to remove it, it'll go back to its original condition. And that's certainly a consideration with this the modern installation. It doesn't really have to be something that's something like storm windows that have always been accepted, and historic adaptations to the traditional windows. It's because they can easily be removed and the holes painted over and back to the existing pre-existing condition.
There it is.
yeah. So basically, Steve, what you're saying is if it's completely reversible, that is a positive.
Yes.
Yeah, this definitely looks like an intervention because there's an immediate need.
It's also partially screened by I don't know if it matters too much to you all, but it is partially screened by the trestle, whatever you call that thing. Yeah.
Right.
Lattice.
But thank you. The word escaped me and I actually just built one.
And because it escaped you, it ran away from me too. It does run in front of another door, which is a bit of a consideration. The railing that was installed, I hadn't seen before, which doesn't match the existing, but I don't know. Luba?
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't know.
Luba, we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's better.
Is it better? Yeah. Yeah, it really doesn't add to the beauty of the house.
Right. All right, that's what I don't know. Sorry.
I think the landing has to be 5 by 5 anyway at the top. So that's probably the reason for the impact of that, that railing right there.
Is that railing wood or is that PVC?
Richard?
The railing, the white landing railing?
Yes.
Yes, that is white PVC spindles.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. Okay.
What is that door that's being blocked?
That door is my personal kitchen door that is still accessible, but not for the business at all.
Mike, do you have any further insight to offer as far as the building code requirements that make this kind of like the only way to handle it?
Well, Rich did meet with our building inspector, and with the 88 requirements, it's very specific about the ramp slope and spacings and things like that. It's pretty hard to. I think it'd be pretty difficult to meet all those requirements and the HARB requirements, because it's not something that the township controls. It's all state level and federal controlled. So there's no gray area where we can kind of finagle things. There's very strict requirements that he has to abide by. And it was okayed by our building inspector side only for their requirements. But a permit has not been issued yet. Sorry.
And he's got enough space from his kitchen door to go in and out. There's no issue with that.
Well, the kitchen's not required an egress door to the outside.
So he can still use the door though?
I think the one other picture shows the spacing.
Wait, let me look. Right there?
Not very
Not really.
much.
Oh, there.
No, but by
Not very
building code
much.
standards, he doesn't need that as a usable entrance into the kitchen.
But I guess my question, if we know he is using it, or he knows he's going to have to use it, what would the spacing requirement be, just from a safety perspective, right? Especially a kitchen where there's potential for fires, et cetera.
I believe it's at least a 3-foot clear space to open the door and get out.
So we can swing the door wide open. 36-inch door, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like obviously it's an inward swinging door, but there's supposed to be a 3-foot clear space in front of that on the outside if it was an egress door as a landing.
I got you.
So it's not considered an egress door for the residents.
No.
Right. So here's, in an effort to try to make this better, is there a way that we could approve this with a time frame on it? Because this is not the solution that we'd like to see live on. But we understand the need to have something so that you can open your doors and comply with federal law.
Well, that gets back to that question I had for Mike. Has this gotten in the way of his occupancy permit?
It would. He wouldn't be allowed to open without it because he has to have accessible means into the business.
Well, the real consideration is that the Board of Supervisors has to rely on our judgment that this is reasonable and acceptable. And then they really have to take on the responsibility of saying, yes, this is something that we want to call historically correct. No matter what we say, they're the actual ones that do the approval of these historic for the CLG.
And to your
Well,
point,
historically,
Stephen,
we didn't have wheelchair ramps back in the day, right?
Well, we've had them for a long time. So, but Dan, why don't you finish?
well, I guess from a supervisor perspective, right? We are relying on your guidance. We also have to comply with our ordinance. Obviously, this is a special case where we're trying to accommodate a more modern requirement than the time period of the building, clearly. But so there's some way to kind of try and balance that, right? We didn't build a ramp that looks exactly like the house, same colors and all that. We think that's, especially since I think that's reasonable. Get a little bit of screening there. When we look at the railings that were put in, could you replace that with wooden ones that match and still meet code that match the wooden railings that are there on the porch already, and maybe paint them the same color scheme and just make a match? That's why I was asking if it was wood or PVC. It was just easy to take off those the two caps there and flatten them out and paint it. And you'd almost look. I don't know if the spindles are the same at this angle, but some approach like that, just to be consistent in how they look a little bit. So as a board member, that's the type of stuff I'd be looking, we have to look to you all for, because right now it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I would just look for your guidance on that.
If I may, to respond to both that and the idea of the photograph itself being the only evidence we have, is that the most glaring thing, the most jarring thing about the installation is the fact that you've got this aluminum pre-manufactured ramp, and then you have the modern PVC railing that has nothing to do with the ramp and has nothing to do with the house. I think you might even say it would be better if, because the drop off is less than 2 feet and you don't have to have the guardrail being of the conditions where you have the limited space between the spindles, you could really just put a railing in there that's the same material as the aluminum and run it continuous. Do a connection, whether it's welded or mechanical, that runs right across and does a bend down to the white painted landing that is, again, not part of the fabric of the history, but because it's trying to match something of the historic nature, it does seem to be the most out of context piece that's there. So bottom line, I think I would say if that could be fixed and sent around in terms of a drawing before they install it, and then we could maybe accommodate their requirement for trying to get it done as quickly as possible by having consideration of those drawings. But I think that the railing itself is the biggest fly in the ointment here. Other input?
Steve, he could actually come across at the height that he is with all wood and then come from the wooden post, the existing wooden post from the porch at the height of that railing into the new post. See what I'm saying? So it steps down.
Would that meet code?
Now, doesn't it have to be 42 inches high or something?
Well, the existing railing is not.
Right, and so we can't match that height. That's a given. But to Steve's point, if we just continue the aluminum railing system, then it would look more cohesive. My big point is this is not designed with any of our guidelines taken into consideration. We have a ramp at the Mail-in Moore that we reviewed 20 years ago, and that's compatible with the building. The only way I would let this stay is if we put timeline on it and said that after 24 months, it's got to go, because it's not appropriate and it sets a really bad precedent.
I agree with that too, Jennifer. And also the thing, I don't know if it's an optical illusion in the photograph. At the end of that aluminum rail, there is a vertical, is that a post? It looks a little bit tilted.
Yeah, it's perpendicular to the ramp, the post at the end, in order to hold up the railing, and the posts at the other ends are all that way as well.
So and it goes all the way up to the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Which is the reason. Very strange.
Which is the reason I said, even to approve it now, I would want to see the ramp and the railing that contains the landing all be of the same material, and not have that jarring and unhistoric and unlovely set of vinyl posts and rails, which does nothing to enhance anything there. If it's going to be practical, let it be just practical and not try and adapt it. And I'll also take the outside face of the ramp and align it with the post, so that there's not that horrible offset that creates a gap, and somebody's kid could try and go through that because that looks like fun to sneak through and get stuck on the end of the railing. Well, whatever. I mean, there's plenty of things to argue about, but either we do not approve it, or we approve it with limitations, or we table the matter and look for something down the road.
Well,
Any suggestions? Any
And
motions?
another temporary suggestion would be to carry that lattice work all the way to the column, to the post.
That's what
would
I was
hide
thinking
all this
too, Lula.
intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, carry that lattice there, and then at the other end of the ramp, just plant some shrubs. So temporary, like what Jennifer said, a temporary arrangement, but it would not look this, somebody said, jarring. Just leave everything, put the lattice all the way
Right
to
here,
the post.
where my cursor is?
I don't
Yeah.
see your cursor.
Extend the lattice, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Kathleen. That was going to be my next comment, was some lattice there, a little shrub on the other side of the lattice.
Yeah. Right,
Or
some
a couple.
evergreen, evergreen native shrubs in
Yeah.
front of the other end of the ramp, and that would take care for it on a temporary basis.
Mhm.
I would
Something
not
native,
go
of
with,
course.
that would be my suggestion. I don't know.
The only thing with the temporary approval is that means we're putting the onus on the township to watch the clock and then enforce the removal when the duration has expired.
The removal and the proposal of some other
Right.
proposal that is appropriate.
Yeah.
But I think I heard the owner, he's planning in removing totally the ramp and having an exit from the back in a few years.
That's what I'm responding to as well. Yeah.
Yes, so that makes sense,
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, given the fact that you come up with the time limitation thing, could you frame this in a formal motion with the idea of also extending the lattice and appropriate shrubbery? And I still think that having the two different railing systems is another thing that I would ask for the board's consideration on. So, Jennifer, do you want to take a shot?
Also, at the beginning of the ramp, it sort of lands on an asphalt, so that should be taken care of too.
What do you mean taken care of?
Well, it has to have some signage, no parking. You need at least 5 feet clearance there, rather than just going, like a slope right into the parking lot.
You mean a striped area at least that says
Right.
This is a walkway that's 5 by
Right.
5. Mm-hmm.
I think that was something else that Rich also went over with the building inspector, looking at the ADA requirements.
Right, okay.
I mean, is it possible to approve this in steps and we approve it with the screen and then change the railings so they look to be the same or the same height? And then the 2-year mark, you get rid of the aluminum structure and have something similar to what Jennifer had talked about it. Is it Mail and More?
Yeah, well, that's masonry. This, whatever Richard puts in at this place will probably be wood and wood railing to go with the house. But yeah, something compatible with the house.
We're running into a time consideration here, Jennifer. So if you would be kind enough maybe to frame this in a motion and propose it, and we'll get a second and either approve it or disapprove it.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary installation of an accessible ramp that has lattice extending from the current lattice screen to the porch column, that includes the change out of the vinyl railing system to a tubular aluminum system, just like the ramp, and to include evergreen shrubbery in the grass area along the ramp to hide the ramp. And that this installation would therefore be approved with those modifications for a period of 24 months from the date of acceptance by the Lower Makefield supervisors.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Yeah,
Do we have any further discussion?
yes, in my opinion, I don't think it's necessary to have the vinyl fence, baluster matching the aluminum. If the aluminum ramp railing is left the way it is, that still creates an awkward connection there.
I think it
having
has
the
to do with,
aluminum.
I think it has to do with the height of the railing. We wouldn't be able to reduce it. It needs to be a 3-foot railing. And the only way to get that height, in contrast to the existing railing height, which is one of the things that sets it apart, is to just continue to top wear with an aluminum rail, and it'll disappear in terms of looks, as far as I'm concerned. But that's what we're supposed to be doing now, having further discussion. Any other input similar to that?
Stephen, I would say as we go forward, we may want to ask for some ideas from the, we do have a disability advisory board in the township that I've never been the liaison, but from what I understand, they know a heck of a lot about different options to accommodate, that they may be able to provide some insight at some point in the next 24 months as we go forward with something like this. I think they probably have seen, I'm going to guess here, but they've probably seen multiple different types of technologies and applications that look different ways and work different ways that might be preferable to this group as well.
Any other comments from the board before we vote? Any comments from the public?
There's no public comment.
The chairperson of the Historic Commission is right next to me, and she would like to make a comment.
No, I'm fine with it.
She says she's fine with it. Which, including the aluminum railing or including a painted railing? Aluminum, I see. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm hoping this is getting across without any garbling. Any other comments before we vote?
Stephen, do we usually allow signs like that? The little builder sign?
It's builder signs are temporary, and that's not our bailiwick. So
okay. Just checking.
I guess it's okay. It's not part of the installation, I'm hoping.
No.
So let us call for a vote on this. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any negative responses?
Well, I'm halfway. How can I do this? I approve the part of it, but not the replacement.
You can say nay.
Um,
You can say aye or you can say nay.
Yeah, I say nay because I don't think it's necessary to, replace the existing.
Okay, well, you said,
Well,
okay. So I believe the ayes have it. Was it 5-1?
I'm actually voting a nay as well.
Okay. 5-2 then. I didn't realize it. That's right, you are a voting member. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
Forgot about that. Okay. As it is, the motion passes. Thank you, Jennifer, for the time limit idea. I hope this is enough to get you going, Richard.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So we really need to move along to the next point of discussion. So if you can excuse us, we would ask for our next
Thank you,
presenter.
Richard.
Thank you.
We do not have anybody else in the waiting room.
Oh, so there's nobody gonna present for the 1754 Edgewood Road? I thought that
There's
CT
Cam
was
on,
going to be there.
Cam. There's 3 people on camera. Who is
That's
that?
all stuff on our technical end.
Sorry.
Okay. Shall we proceed with at least discussion if everybody's prepared? Or do we want to have a presentation and give it to somebody who might do something with it? I'd say let's table this matter and if we have a vote for that. Is there a motion to table it?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Okay. Second, anybody?
A second.
Thank you. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Oh, nay. Any votes for nay? Okay. I do hope that some of the information I sent around got across. The fact that it is the house that's adjacent to the Biles Corner house, and that it's 1802 or 3 or 4 it was built, so it's over 200 years old. And I think we need to deal with this one carefully. There is one consideration that was not included, and I believe that it was information that was passed along to me from one of the persons who framed the TND, and that's Dr. Hines mentioned that there's a 50% limit on the enlargement of any existing house. I mean, we can offer alternatives and say, yeah, they probably should have more, but there's probably has to be a good reason. So if we could do some further research, find exactly what the TND ordinance says about that, that might be a help. I'm going to ask Mike to work with Mr. Vinchewski and get that together for the presentation when he comes back. Yes.
I'll make sure I have that for the next time it's on the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, the other thing I asked to add to the agenda was the idea of review of what we have to do for continuing education and the proposed, I guess there's a course at the end or middle of August. Jennifer, you know a little bit about that, I believe.
Jim actually found it, but it's live, but it's also recorded so that if you'd like to see it, you can watch it when it's convenient for you. There's a scholarship program also being offered to cover the cost of it. And Jim was asking us to give him a yay or nay for your participation in wanting to see this course. And then I think we should apply for a scholarship for all of us.
As a group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted him to do it as a group, not us doing it individually. So is everybody on the board willing and able to participate, either live or postpone it, but definitely watch it?
Yeah.
Then let's see, why don't we just direct Jim that all members would like to try to get scholarship for it.
So Mike, can you pass that information along? I guess, Luba, you're on board with this?
Yes, I am. I actually responded to Jim.
Jeff Urco?
Yep.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Grenier?
I don't vote on anything, so you guys do whatever you want.
Oh, no, I meant whether you want to be at the course as well to learn something.
If I have the time, I love this stuff, so I can use this in my day job too. So yeah, absolutely. If available, I would love to take part.
Well, like I said, it's going to be recorded, so you could take it with you and make it like a podcast if you wanted.
So
that would be my first podcast.
Mike, you got that? Get that count? Michael, you have that count?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. There was one other item at the end of the discussion last time. at the minutes. I wanted to look at the minutes. I think it was brought up by Mr. Grenier, actually, the review board for, was a commission, Mr. Grenier? Ad hoc advisory committee.
Oh.
Let's deal with
For
that then.
the township parcels, township properties.
Yes.
Yeah, we golly, we now have 1, 2, 4 members, I think, that have been appointed. It's not full yet. Betty's, is it Savini or Sauvigny? I don't know how she pronounces her last name. I didn't see if there was an accent to there. And she was recently appointed from Artists of Yardley, if you're familiar with Betty. We also have a gentleman who was in farmland preservation, who was a great addition. And I believe, Fred Childs was someone else that was added. I guess he's on a, I'm not sure what his background is relevant to this, but he was interested in it. So he was appointed. And I believe there was one more person appointed, but I apologize. I'm totally drawing a blank on their name. But there are a few more positions available for the board. Oh, it was, I'm going to make sure I don't say that incorrectly. I do believe we have one person from the Historic Commission that may have been appointed, but I got to double check that. I'm not sure if he was voted on or not. So there are some positions left. There haven't been any meetings yet. I don't know who the supervisor liaisons are because we haven't voted on that either. So we'll see where that is. But that I would anticipate, if anyone's interested, either in this group or if anyone's watching
that was
from
the next
home.
question. That was the next question.
So what you would do if you're interested is to submit, just like you maybe would have done for this group, depending on how the process was run then. But typically what we do is we have you submit a resume, basically a resume and a cover letter, but really you're sending your resume with an email, letter of interest to Mr. Ferguson, our township manager, expressing an interest in that committee. And then if you're more, since I'm the liaison in this group, you're more than welcome to copy me to make sure, I tend to follow up on that stuff to make sure it doesn't get missed. So if you like, please copy me, and I will speak to the chair of the Board of Supervisors to make sure that it gets on whoever is interested gets on the schedule for an interview. And then the interviews occur, it's a public interview just ahead of a Board of Supervisors meeting. So it would be on, well, actually, I think, I'm glad you said, I think we're going back to hybrid Board of Supervisors meetings as of our next meeting. So it could be either in person or via Zoom. You'd have to double check that with our manager just to be sure. I don't want to give you bad information, but that hybrid approach is coming up very soon. We voted to pick up some equipment to allow that to happen at our last meeting back in June. But all that being said, if you're interested, send in your letter of interest with a resume, and you'll get scheduled for an interview. The details of that interview will be provided to you by the township manager, his designee, but it would likely be either in person or via Zoom.
And what's that group called?
The ad hoc committee.
It's our ad hoc
advisory
township properties committee, and that's not the official title for it. I'd have to look back at our meeting minutes to see exactly. We wrote a resolution, and I had a few tweaks to it. So, Jeff, I'd have to look that up in our minutes from probably in April or May to get the official name for you.
So we don't have everybody running from our board. Is there anybody who's particularly interested at this point, so we can say, yeah, that's a great idea, why don't you do it, Jeff? And then sit back. Oh, did I say Jeff? Anybody else interested? We should have somebody from the HARB, I suspect, since maybe some of this discussion should be based on architecture. You
I'm
would?
interested in that.
Okay, wow. So you will then go through whatever processes are required, yes, I hope?
Yes.
And the best of luck from all of us. Yay, Jeff. No?
But I'm still on HARB, correct?
Sure, yeah, this is not a side move. This is, you stay with us and you do another little job too.
Yeah, Jeff, the way
Multitasking.
the way the resolution was written, it's a current or former member of either the HARB or the Historic Commission
Okay.
is one of the positions that we have on there. So it's not like sometimes that you don't want people to be on too many different committees that may conflict a little bit or whatever that, whatever it may be. But in this case, I don't think that was a concern for this particular committee. Other board members may see it differently, but that's how it was. The resolution was written.
Right.
Okay, thank you for addressing this issue again. I don't think we have further business undertake, so we can entertain a,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
You want to think about that?
Is there a second?
A second.
I'll second.
Okay. Well, before we have the final vote on that, Dan, could you and I shift to, I guess, a breakout room after this for just a couple simple questions on something else?
If we can figure out how to do it, I'd be more than happy to do it.
No, we have our technical staff here. They will do
I
it,
know, I'm
right?
just teasing. Yeah.
Well, everybody else just leaves except you two.
Well, we don't want to be in their main spaces. I think there's something about that. But
Right.
whatever
So
works.
we all click leave and you stay on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. The simple, practical version. So all in favor of the adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Good day and take care until we see you all again.
Good
Okay.
to see everyone.
Take care. You too.
Thanks.